Hi everyone, Letty here, Party Planner Papery. Happy World Card Making Day. I've got a crafty tutorial for you. This is going to be your new favorite card. We're making an A2 Gatefold gift card holder. Welcome back everyone. So first off, happy World Card Making Day to everybody. I hope you're making tons of cards today. I know this is going to be coming out a little later in the day. I know there were a ton of things planned for the morning, so I think you're in good hands. But what I want to do today is I was testing a card last night with my members. I had a member exclusive video that I released early this morning. And I was trying to see if this card was going to work, and it does. And so I wanted to share it with you. I think this is going to be your new favorite card. It's going to be a fantastic one. So I have some supplies here. We're going to be using Sweater Weather. This is a little mega pad that I had picked up from Echo Park. I had already started it. I used it for my sheet load card, and I think the patterns are just super fun. I love the colors, very autumn and fall vibes there. I do have the coordinating sticker sheet. I have already used quite a bit just from the sheet load cards that I did already. So I am definitely going to try to use up a few more of these on this project as well. So that is the collection I'm using. The project for today is a gatefold. Okay, so gatefold right here. Gift card holder. So we have a pocket right here that holds a gift card. We've got a space to write. We've got some pattern paper. This is a gatefold card. It's not going to have any kind of belly band or anything. It's just going to have your cut apart here in the front. We are using a 3x4 cut apart, but again, it's a gatefold, so it opens, but you've got plenty of room to write. If you wanted to, you could even add some more writing spaces right here. You could add some little pictures. You could do whatever you want. But the big thing here is that this is actually a gift card holder. Now, if you didn't want to use it for a gift card holder, you could put a little bit of cash. You could put some ephemera, some stickers, whatever you wanted to send to your pen pal. I think these are going to be great for craft fair because they are gift card holders. They're very easy to make. You can mass assemble these, and let me tell you, this is definitely a paper smasher. We go through so much paper to make this. So here is our project for today, and this was the one that I made with my members, but this is super fun. I didn't decorate the back, but you could always put another mat in the back, and the mat size would be the same as this one right here. But here is our card for today. It does stand up because it's a gatefold, so you could stand it up if you really wanted to, but again, here is a super fun card. Let me show you how we're going to be making this. Okay, so what I'm going to use today for this project, now here's the thing. Because of all the different pattern papers that we're using, I'm actually not going to just make one. I'm going to make three. So I'm going to show you how to cut down your paper and make three of these at once, okay, with the same set of supplies. So for the base, I've got one whole sheet of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock, and it doesn't even have to be super heavy weight. This one is about a 65 pound. It doesn't have to be super heavy because we're going to be adding a ton of layers on top. So it actually, the card itself is pretty sturdy by the time all is said and done, because it's going to have layers on the inside and the outside. So we've got one full sheet, plus I have one extra half. So this is just half of the 8.5 by 11. I cut it at 5.5 on the 11 inch side. I already prepped one of my foundation bases there. So because we're going to make three foundations from this right here. And then you're going to need three of these mats, and this is just the same cardstock, so that way it matches. You see here, right here, this is going to be for behind the cut apart. So we've got 3.25 by 4.25, and that's because I'm using 3x4 cut aparts, and that way it mats perfectly there. Okay, so you're going to need three of those. Now you could technically get a couple of these out of your remaining sheet here, but this little strip won't be enough, so you'll have to definitely bring in another piece. So in theory, you're using two whole sheets plus a little bit of extra scrap. So those are our cardstock, okay? You can use anything you want for fall. I like to use sort of a craft color. Now, as far as my main supplies, I'm using 7 total sheets of 6x6 paper. So we're going to use 7 sheets to make 3 cards. This is why this is a smash pad or a pad smasher. We're going to be using 3 sheets that are more solid. And it doesn't have to necessarily be solid. You could even use a pattern, something like this, that's relatively solid. You likely just would not want something that's super pattern like heavy, because this is going to be going right here. And depending on what size white mat you put right here. You don't have to put something this large. You could put something smaller. You could put a circle, an oval. Then you could, in theory, use more of a pattern paper for this one. But these solids that I'm talking about here are going to be the ones for those large mats on the inside. So we're going to need 3 of those. And I am just using some of these cut-apart strips I mentioned in my video last night with members. I'm not a big fan of these because sometimes these are hard to use, like pumpkin, autumn. Like I can't cozy, welcome. Like I can't really make a card very easily. I'd have to add something. So I figured I would just do that. So we've got 3 solids right here. Now, as far as your pattern paper, we are going to need 4 sheets. Okay, so these are double-sided, but I've already sort of picked which side patterns I want to try to use. So you're going to use 4 of those, and that's what's going to make these strips right here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why we have 4 patterns. We're going to cut these down. We're going to get 3 strips from each one, which is why, again, we're making 3 cards. So you'll have 4 times 3, you'll have 12 total panels. You're going to use 4 on each card, and that's how we'll make our 3 cards. So that is your pattern paper. You could absolutely do this with larger paper, like 12 by 12. It looks like it just depends on how much you want to mix up your patterns. You probably could do like literally with 2 big old sheets of 12 by 12, you could make, you know, the 3 cards, but that is what I'm using as far as 6 by 6. And then I'm also going to bring in 3 of these little die cut mats. And this is just a smaller than A2 size mat that I'm putting on the inside of my card. And it doesn't have to be this one. I went with a stitch scalloped edge rectangle. You could use, again, a circle, an oval. Just cut an actual rectangle. You could cut a square, any kind of white scrap, especially if you're using a darker color. If you're using a color like this that's super light, you probably don't even have to put anything. You could just, you know, handwrite the message right on the inside of that. Now you also are going to need 3 cut-aparts. Now I couldn't decide which ones I wanted, and then I'm going to wait and I'm going to audition them on the actual cards. So I do have 4, which is what was left over from my pad. But you only need 3, and these are 3 inches by 4 inches. Okay, and these came in this little pad as well. That's the beauty of these little pads, is now they started to include full-size cut-aparts. So those are our supplies. All the paper, all of this paper is going to make 3 of these, okay, which is, again, this is why it's a paper smasher, because we're going to go through a lot of paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to show you how to cut all of the cuts, and we're going to go ahead and assemble these cards. So let's go ahead and start with the foundation. So I'm going to put these little mats aside. We won't need those right now. I'm going to put the one that I've already finished aside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a large sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and on the 11-inch side, I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 5.5. So I just got 2 of my card bases. Here's where I have my 3rd one. Again, if you were starting from scratch, you would bring in 2 of these sheets and cut them down to make your 3. And then the extra you could cut your little cut-aparts with. Now, that's the only cut right now for that. But I do need to score. So let me just go ahead and score and get this out of the way. So I have my foundation here. What you're going to do is on the longer side, which is the 8.5-inch side, you're going to go ahead and score it at 2 1/8. Okay, so not 2 1/4, but the little notch right after the 2. So 2 1/8. And then you're going to flip it, and you're going to go ahead and do 2 1/8 on the opposite side. And that, to me, is just the easiest, especially if you're not using a big scoreboard. So 2 1/8, and then rotate it and do 2 1/8 on the other side. So that way you have those gatefold flaps, okay? So let's go ahead and do the second one. So 2 1/8, rotate it, flip it, whatever, and then go ahead and do 2 1/8 again. And be careful, because I know several times I accidentally did the 2 1/4, and then I had to adjust it or just move it aside and keep going. Okay, so that's all the scoring we're gonna do. Now let's go ahead and cut our paper. So we have 2 different types of cuts that we're gonna be making with this project. So with my solid paper, which again is gonna be this inside mat right here. And I think what I'm gonna do for the purposes of this project with my scrap, I'm actually gonna use it for this little back piece right here. Let's go ahead and cut this down. So first things first, if this paper has an orientation, mine does not because it's solid, but if it did, like say for instance, if this was the one you were using, you are going to want to have the top to the top. You see how this is upright right here? So, but I'm going to use the solid, so it really doesn't matter on this one. So I'm with the top to the top, I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 4 inches. Now for me specifically, because this is going this way, I'm actually going to rotate mine. But for you, if you're having a pattern, make sure you do it the other way. So cut it at 4 inches on the 6-inch side. And that way I could salvage some of those cut-aparts. Okay, so then what you're gonna do is rotate it. And on the 6-inch side, we're gonna cut this down to 5 1/4. So here is our mat and here is our scrap. This is a scrap. We'll save this for later. So here's what we have for right now. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna repeat it with all the rest. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and cut down our pattern paper. So we have our 3 mats right here, okay? So that's gonna go in our pile. Now let's cut down our pattern paper. So for each of these pattern papers, what we're gonna do is figure out which side you want, make sure your orientation is set correctly. And then what you're gonna do is you are gonna go ahead and rotate it one time with the top to the right-hand side. And let me see if I can show you. Well, this doesn't have a pattern either, but from the top to the right, and we're gonna go ahead and cut it at 5 1/4. Here is a scrap. You will not need this. You could use it to do additional embellishment, but you won't need this for now. So now here's the important part. You wanna rotate this back to where the top of your pattern is up at the top. This is the 6-inch side. This is the 5 1/4. And you're now gonna go ahead and cut 3 panels of 2 inches. Now, because I know these EcoPark papers are always just slightly smaller than 6 inches, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a sort of like a little bit of a smaller cut. I'm gonna put my paper just on the right-hand side of the 2-inch mark, and then I'm gonna cut it. So that's 1 strip, and then I'm gonna do 2 more. Just like that. So now I have 3 panels that are 2 inches or approximately 2 inches by 5 1/4. These are going to be these panels that you have right here, both on the front and on the inside. Because I'm using 4 different patterns, I'm just going to repeat the same exact cuts with the remaining 3 sheets. Okay, so now that we have all of these mats, we're gonna put those aside. Now, I mentioned that I was probably gonna end up using my scrap to do the inside mat, so I think I am gonna do that. I probably didn't even have to try to salvage that back because I'm gonna end up using it anyway. So for the inside mat, which is this one right here, you're gonna need a little pattern paper that is 1.5 by 4. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut it down to 4 inches. And then I'm gonna rotate it and I'm gonna cut it down to 1.5. Okay, so these are gonna be scraps that'll go back in my stash. Here is the mat that will go on that card. And I'm gonna just repeat the same cuts on the remaining 2 pieces. Okay, so again, that one was 1.5 by 4, and we got 3 of them because we had 3 mats. That is basically all of our cutting. Let me just put my trimmer aside. Now we're gonna assemble. So let me show you what I have left. So we've got all of our cut mats. We also have our 3x4 cut-aparts, our white mats that are gonna go on the insides of the cards, okay? Here are the scraps. Here's what I had left over. Now, in theory, you could use some of these little strips to put decoration on the inside of your cards. Where you have their white mat, you could absolutely do that. Cut some of these patterns down, add them to the inside. I'm not gonna fuss over them today, but you absolutely could do that and make this less of like a scrap, template. Like you could have like a no scrap template if you used it all. So, but I'm gonna just put this aside for right now because I don't need this. So let's go ahead and assemble our card. So I'm gonna start with one of my foundation, my bases, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my bone folder. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and fold both of my scores. So as I'm folding it in, I wanna make sure that I'm aligning on both sides of the card. So that way when I fold it, it's not crooked. Then I'll just go ahead and enforce it with a bone folder. And I'm gonna do the same with the opposite side. So I'm gonna fold it in, make sure that I'm aligned, and they should pretty much touch the two papers. You might have a very tiny gap, but they should pretty much touch. And the gap might just be if your cardstock wasn't a true 11" by 8.5 when you first started. But that's what it's gonna look like. So this is our gatefold. Now you could absolutely just take your patterns, decorate it, and make a true gatefold card. You could add a belly band, but we're gonna change it up a little bit and make this a gift card holder too. So what I'm gonna do is, let's go ahead and pull one of each of these sets. So I think what I'll do is, let's just divvy everything up, and that way you can kind of see how this is gonna get laid out. So we've got our 3 mats here, and then I'm gonna add one of each of the patterns. It's like I'm shuffling cards, or issuing out cards, dealing cards. So I've got one of each of the patterns for each of them, and then I'm gonna just go ahead and add that extra little scrap mat to each of them as well. Okay, so I'm gonna take 2 of these, put them aside, and we're gonna go ahead and focus on one of these cards right now. So here's our mat. Here are the pattern papers I have. 1 large mat, 4 pattern strips, and 1 little scrap. That's what's gonna make this card. So first off, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the larger mat, which is gonna go right here on the inside of my card. So let me go ahead and glue this down. Okay, we have our mat in here. The next thing we'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and add this white mat right here on the inside before I forget. So I'm just gonna add it real quick. Okay, that's what that looks like. Now I have my strip patterns that are gonna go right here and right here. So that's where I bring in those 4 patterns, and I'm gonna go ahead and audition them. I'm gonna try to see, okay, which ones do I want on the front and which ones do I want on the inside? And I think I want these on the inside and then these 2 on the front. So let's go ahead and glue these down. And one thing I'll mention, when you're gonna glue the insides, I like to glue them very close, but on the outside of that score line. And it's just so that way my margins, like my borders all the way around, are pretty even. Because if you try to center this, then you're gonna see this margin or this border over here is a lot smaller than the one over here. But if I put it a little closer to the line, now all of a sudden we've got pretty equal borders all the way around. So that's just a little tip for you. Let me go ahead and glue these real quick. Okay, so we've got the 2 on the inside. Now let's glue the 2 on the outside. Now, one thing I will mention too is I like to glue these all the way directly to the edge of these gatefolds. And that again is so that way I have equal borders all the way around, but also if you try to glue it right in the center, you're gonna end up with some border right in the middle. And I don't like the way that looks as much as I just like the way that looks a little better. But you can do it any which way that you want. So let me glue these real quick. Okay, so we have glued down the 2 front panels. You see how they pretty much go directly to the edge of the gatefold right there. That's kind of how I like to have that one. Here is what our card is looking like. And you could absolutely just add a little sentiment or a little embellishment here on the front, and that you could call that your gatefold card. But we're gonna take it a step further and turn this into a gift card holder. So I do have my mat for my cut apart, and that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And here is where I'm gonna go ahead and audition my cut aparts. So these are 3 by 4, and these again came in my little pack, and a lot of your paper packs will come with these. So I'm just gonna kind of see which one I like. I really like that one. I think that looks good. Let me see on this other one. Let's see how this looks. So I feel like it's a little bit busier, but I think, unfortunately, some of them are going to have to be this way, but I really like this one. So let's go ahead and just start with this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this mat or this cut apart down to the mat first off. Okay, So while this is drying, here's what this looks like. This is gonna end up being glued to the front of my Gatefold card. Now, if you did not want to make a gift card holder, all you would have to do is pinch right here, center it where you want it, then pinch with your fingers as like your border, and then, or your boundary, and then add your glue underneath right here to this entire section, and then glue it down to the front of your card, making sure that you don't get any on this opposite side. Otherwise, you may try to seal the actual card itself. But because we're gonna be doing a gift card holder with this, I'm gonna do something similar. I'm gonna sort of audition it here, put exactly where I want it, put my fingers to mark where the edge of the glue should be, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and add glue to 3 sides down here, just on the edge. So the 2 top and bottom, right here. So it's like that. And then also this extra side over here. I'm gonna put generous amount of glue because I want this to be sturdy on the front of our card. So that's what it's gonna look like. So now I'm gonna take my cut apart and basically lay it down back where I wanted to center it on my card. And I am gonna quickly inspect to make sure I did not have any glue spillage, and it looks like I did not. That worked out great. So here's what our card is looking like. I'm gonna kind of press this down, let this dry before I tweak too much with the actual gift card itself. But here's what this is looking like. And now, because we did not add any glue on the inside right there, this is technically a pocket now, okay? And our gift card is gonna be going in here. Now, if you did not want to cover up this mat, you didn't need to cut this little extra piece. You could absolutely just add your gift card. Let me just use this one. You can actually just add your gift card just like this. And here's what the inside would look like. It still looks cute and it still coordinates. I just like the look of having the extra pattern paper over here. So when I add that in, it's gonna give it just a little bit of extra pattern over here. Now, because I'm using solid, it doesn't add a whole lot, but I think when you're using a pattern paper, it does make it look more complete. See that? And you could use your scraps for that. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna just glue this down also. I could technically use the back of this. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So let me use the back. That way it just adds a little bit more difference. And I'm just gonna glue this pretty much to the line of the gift card, where the gift card holder's at. I'm not gonna go beyond that, but that way, again, you've got even borders all the way around here. So what I meant was right here where the pocket starts is where I glued that little piece of the paper. And again, this was 1.5 by 4. So that is that part of it. Here's where our pocket's gonna be for our gift card holder, our gift card. That is literally our card. I think it's so stinking cute. Now I want to finish embellishing this with a couple of stickers. So let me just grab my sticker sheet. You do not have to do this. This is totally optional, but I think it does add a little something extra. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some stickers here, trying to get some inspiration from the cover. Okay, so I think what I want to do is maybe do like this pumpkin. I think that's cute. So let's go ahead and add, I like to add a little bit of glue to the back of my stickers just so they're really sturdy, but also so that way it gives me a second of like wiggle room if I need to move the sticker just a tiny bit. I could see I just moved it a tiny bit right there. So I think that looks cute. How about we also add maybe like a little leaf just to kind of really add a little bit of extra color in here. You could also add stickers and things to the side panels. You could absolutely do that. So I think that looks cute just like that. Okay, I think I'm gonna call it done there. So here is what we have. So again, here is our A2 size Gatefold gift card holder. I think it turned out super cute, super fun. You could decorate the back with another mat. It'll just be 4 inches by 5 1/4, the same way that we cut this one, and you would use even more of your paper. So I have the rest of these and I have my foundations. I'm gonna go ahead and make these off camera. I'll come back in just a second and we'll do a full final recap up next. Okay, I have finished the cards. Again, we used Sweater Weather by Echo Park. This was a mega pad, 48 sheets. I still have quite a bit, but I think I'm definitely gonna be smashing it this month. I was able to use a few more of the stickers from the sticker sheet, mostly just some of the embellishments. So I'm coming down to the very end of that sticker sheet too. And today we made an A2 size Gatefold gift card holder. I think this is super fun, So easy. You saw how everything came together. As I was assembling them off camera, it literally just took me a couple minutes to do each one. I think they're so fun. Again, you could add an extra mat to the back if you really wanted to use up more of your paper. I think this is just an excellent way to showcase your paper, plus make something that's really going to be great for craft fairs or gifts, or even for your own personal use, especially around the holidays, birthdays, lots of, seasons, reasons you could use this gift card holder. So that's the first one that we made together. Here's how the other two turned out. Here's with that different cut apart, and then the inside, and then here is the final one and the inside. So let me know what you think about this project. Are you going to be making it? Are you card making on World Card Making Day? Are you making cards today? Let me know if you're having fun. Let me know if you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you want to see more like this, I do have memberships. So if you want to see more of like the behind the scenes, I do have that. I have 2 tiers. I have a 99-cent tier, and which is for mostly videos. And then also I have a Happy Mail club where every month you'll get a little bit of Happy Mail from me. So that is what I have for you today. If you're not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. You'll find fun little tutorials like this. My theme is definitely very quick and easy. That's the type of project that I like to make. Simple, quick, easy. So if you like something like that, definitely check me out. But I thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying World Card Making Day. Make sure you make some cards today. And as always, happy crafting. Thanks so much for visiting, everyone. Drop me a comment down below letting me know if you made any cards today. Happy World Card Making Day and happy crafting.